Uh, 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 uh.
Welcome to my little corner of this great big crazy world,
Where we can laugh and play until reality comes unfurled. Hello, I guess, and welcome to Cory's Corner. Happy New Year, everyone. I hope you're doing great. And to all those with hangovers, I'm not sorry. You did this to yourself. That's too bad. Anyway, hail. I am Cory. This is my corner of this crazy ass little world we live in. And I gotta tell you, new year, new you, right? No, not in any way, shape, or form. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're not all hungover. I hope some of you got some good sleep last night because I did too. I got some great sleep last night and I had a lot of fun just hanging out, watching anime with my son, watching the new year roll in. And it was low key. It was fun. It was just very, very enjoyable. And I hope yours was too. Honestly, good stuff. Resolutions are a big thing this time of year. New Year's resolutions, people saying that they gonna do stuff to change their lives to better themselves, and 88.95 billion% of the time it doesn't work out. And I wonder why. And I mean, realistically, there's probably like a 4% success rate on New Year's resolutions. And there's a lot of factors that go into making New Year's resolutions and a lot of factors that go into making them fail. But that's neither here nor there right now. Right now, I just want to say make sure you're subscribed and you hit that like button. It is a Mental Health Monday, and that's why we're talking about New Year's resolutions, because a lot of the New Year's resolutions problems come down to two very basic things. It's readiness to change, which is a concept commonly used in addictions, and of course, personal commitment, which is a big deal. A lot of people have this issue of saying they're going to do something and then not following through with it. I'm one of those people pretty much every day of the week because I'm inconsistent, unreliable, I suppose. That's not a good thing. I'm not touting that as like, yay, me. I'm not one of those crazy millennials that's like, my faults are my strength. No. But hail to Josiah Robinson. He says, Happy New Year, Cory. No resolutions for me. I set goals for myself for the year and see how many I reach by year's end. That's the smartest way to do it. Resolutions are often flawed because people make these gigantic, grand plans, and it's going to start the first of the year and they're going to kill it, right? And then they wake up hungover just like they did the year before, and then they don't follow through on what they said they were going to do. And the reason for that is readiness for change. But hail to Sean Landrigan. He says, Happy New Year, Cory. Happy New Year to both you and Josiah. I hope you're both doing fantastic, and I hope neither of you are hungover. We'll just jump right into readiness for change, okay? This, as I said, is a concept typically reserved for addictions. Readiness for change indicates that you recognize that you have an issue you need to solve and that you're actually committed to changing it. Now, the problem with readiness for change is it fluctuates all the time based on internal motivation, external support, etc., etc. However, the commitment to these resolutions is often broken by your mind more so than anything else. Specifically, if you're saying that, like, I'm going to get fit this year. The people, like, yes, we've all heard it. 24-hour fitness just made a killing on shit that's never going to pay off for the people that paid for it. Great business model. Resolutions for 24-hour fitness, Planet Fitness, etc., etc. These companies are making bank right now off of people that have absolutely no desire to follow through. And the reason I say no desire is because if they had desired to make these changes, much like Josiah Robinson, they would have set a goal but they would have said it and started it probably about 3 months ago. And that's the real problem there is, especially with gyms and working out, and I'm going to get in better shape, is a lot of the time people allow their minds to defeat their body. And as my favorite workout video people like to say, your body doesn't care if your mind isn't motivated. That's has fit, by the way. The work will be the same with or without it. Meaning that to take care of your physical body, you don't need to be motivated up here. You could be distracted, you could be depressed, you could be completely screwed in the head and still be able to do a push up. But oftentimes we don't have the internal capacity for stopping ourselves from demotivating ourselves. Let's say that. Disheartening ourselves, like the first time it's hard, people give up. And that's because their brain says it's hard. And people these days don't like hard. Change in general is hard. And if you're not ready to change, then you're not going to. You can tell yourself you're ready to change, but then fall through because actually you're completely complacent with who you are and the things you do in your life. And the problem there is complacency is akin to laziness. And change requires a shitload of effort. And I mean a lot. I know I've changed myself many times over the years, and I'm continuously changing myself to fit what needs to be done in my life and the support that people need in my life. Now, I'm not in any way saying that y'all should be like me, because that would be terrible for you. Hell, it's terrible for me sometimes. Not gonna lie. But the key to resolutions is deciding whether or not you're actually wanting to make that change. And a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't want to make that change. And in my opinion, resolutions were the original virtue signal, but they were a strange virtue signal because they're internally directed. Yes, there's external motivations like, oh my gosh, my resolution this year is to do this. Yes, and everyone will think it's awesome. That's a terrible way to go about a resolution. You can't make resolutions for other people. You have to make them for yourself, and you have to be able to stick to them, which is why resolutions are garbage and thus a virtue signal. I have a meme to support this. It says, did you make a New Year's resolution? No, I don't like breaking promises to myself. And that's really what you're doing, is you're making a promise to yourself, and then you're just breaking it. And nobody likes breaking broken promises, not between other people, not between themselves even. But the reality of the situation is people are very comfortable lying to themselves about what they want in their lives. You also have to look at what the motivation behind the resolution is. And I know I touched on this earlier. Resolutions, or more accurately, successful goals, are driven through a motivation that you personally hold dear. And not so much like, oh my gosh, I love myself so much that I need to get in shape and make sure that I'm just ripped like Jesus, as a stand-up comedian once said. But a lot of people don't understand that even if you say you're doing it for yourself, there's a high chance that you're actually doing it because of someone else. And to put that, like, I want to get fit because I saw my favorite YouTuber losing weight. I want to get fit because I saw my brother drop 20 pounds. I want to get fit. This is an internally motivated thing that's externally hinged on someone else inspiring you to do it. The problem there is inspiration coming from human means is often faulty. And then when we see someone slip or fall or fail, we oftentimes get disheartened ourselves. And we can't do that. We have to internally and personally push ourselves to do things. And the reason that goals are so much better than resolutions is because resolutions are grandiose. You know, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to completely get rid of my depression this year. Not really a great resolution. If the goal is to decrease the frequency of depressive episodes, let's say, and you want to decrease it by 1 episode per week, 1 episode per month, something like that, then you're far more motivated and driven to actually fulfill that. Okay? Sorry. Itchy eyeballs all of a sudden. Just a little tired. Oh my gosh. But anyway. Yeah, sorry. Eye boogers, I guess. But anyway, yeah. But you want to set goals. You don't want to do resolutions. Resolutions are dumb for so many reasons. And as I mentioned before, you can't have them externally motivated. Setting goals, very manageable, time-based, and realistic goals allow you to actually make gradual change over a period of time, regardless of whether it's a year, or a couple months, or 5 years. The goals allow you to measure success and allow you to keep an eye on something that is truly attainable. If your goals are beyond your means, then you're setting yourself up for failure. Like, I'm going to make 1 million subscribers in 2024. Woo! Probably not. My goal is to make 700. The problem, I'm going the wrong way at the moment. But I don't have a specific time frame for that goal. And the reason I don't set a time frame for subscriber count, and this is just an example for other people to use, is because you can't control certain variables, such as making people like you or making people enjoy your content, especially if you're just a part-timer. You have to be able to look at the things that are going to hinder your progress in your goals. And there's a ton of stuff that breaks resolutions, one lazy day, but things that break goals can often be amended. The goals can be amended to fit the success that you're having, so you don't feel 100% defeated. And that's the thing, is a lot of people are like, I'm gonna do great, I'm gonna do huge things, and woo, and some people might pull it off. Some people might. But if you're the average Joe Schmo, like the most of us are, then the chances are you have a very busy life that doesn't necessarily accommodate new things very often. Hail to John Edgar. He says, hail, Cory. Greetings, chat. I've only got one real goal for 2024, keeping my head above water with crushing rent car payments during Bidenomic depression. Well, keeping your head afloat is a good goal. Keeping your head above water is a good goal. It's also one that you monitor on a daily. It's one that you're probably going to stress about, especially given situations. And that's the thing. Okay, stress is going to happen when you want to change. Hail to Zombie Box Reviews. He says, Happy New Year, Cory. Happy New Year, sir. I hope last night was wonderful for you, and I hope you're doing great this morning. The stress that comes along with setting goals, failing goals, achieving goals is a natural part. So you have to be able to work stress management into achieving your goals, such as if you have an overwhelming day where you wake up and the entire world seems to be shitting on you, you don't necessarily have to follow through with your workout, even though it will help your mental status greatly. If you're feeling too beat down, then you can't effectively chase what you want to chase. For example, actual physical fatigue from a terrible sleeping habit can decrease your ability to exercise. Now, I'm using exercise as an example because it's one of the most common resolutions that exists. Okay. Now, when you're overly tired and you're going to do your exercises, you're oftentimes going to wind up either hurting yourself or winding up too tired to manage it. And that makes you hate your workout routine. Now, a goal for a workout routine, for instance, may be the fact, I want to go to the gym 3 days a week. That doesn't sound like very much, but those 3 days can possibly be incredibly challenging. So if you're going to hit the gym, but you're incredibly exhausted and you're like, I don't know if I can do this today, then don't. One day is not a failure. What you're trying to do is establish better habits and goals instead of resolutions, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time based, will assist you in feeling better about those days that you fuck up. John Edgar says, agreed. It's actually better way to put it. Stress management for 2024, I should have said. Well, there you go. Stress management. Jason Fox, what's up, buddy? Just saw you on Saturday. It's great to see you again. Hail, brother. Happy New Year and Skål for Valhalla. I probably didn't say that right. I'm not feeling the best today, so don't think I will be able to join today, but I wanted to pop in here. Well, I appreciate every second that you just pop in and say hi. Jason Fox is a wonderful guy. Make sure you're subscribed to 540 Studios. Another huge problematic resolution that people make is substance habits. I'm going to quit drinking, said every person that woke up hungover January 1st of every fucking year. And one of the things that plays into, say, substance habits is the fact that they're ingrained in us both biologically and psychologically. The biological dependency can form on a lot of different things. But the psychological dependency often happens, the psychological dependency often happens a lot easier than a physical dependency does, because physical dependencies are often based on your personal body chemistry, genetic makeup, et cetera, et cetera. Psychological dependencies are often based on what your emotional and mental state is. And depending on where that is, you'll have a greater success or failure chance. Now, I'm not looking to crush your dreams or anything when I say this, but if you're looking to stop drinking and you drank yourself to sleep last night, you're not off to a great start. And that's one of the things that people need to realize with the readiness for change thing is, if you're actually ready to change, then you need to constantly check yourself mentally to make sure that you're following through. For instance, when I quit drinking, it was made easy for me because of multiple electronic devices connected to my legs. But the reality of that is after you get over the physical portion of quitting drinking, quitting smoking weed, quitting cigarettes, et cetera, the psychological parts can seem 10 times harder because you're fighting a chemical deficiency in your body that your body has come to rely on in some way, shape, or form. Maybe you're a pothead who needs to smoke weed to eat. So now you don't have an appetite because you decided you're going to dry out for 30 days. Maybe you are a regular drinker. I won't say an alcoholic. But maybe you're a regular drinker and you occasionally you need a nightcap to go to sleep. That's going to be hard. And oftentimes we turn to other chemical interventions to compensate for said deficiency. Now, support structures are really, really handy for any type of goal. One friend, one family member, your fucking cat. Doesn't matter. If you have a support structure that you can talk to, it's great. If that support structure can hold you accountable, it's even better. Now, when I say being held accountable, I don't mean somebody who's going to belittle you or somebody who's going to be like, oh, well, yeah, you fucked up just like I knew you would. Or, oh, well, it wasn't really a realistic goal in the first place. You're looking for someone who will tell you the truth of the matter. For instance, slipping happens. Anyone in a non-court ordered AA program will tell you that slipping happens. Okay. And when you're trying to break a habit, bouncing all over the place here, that's based on laziness. For instance, you want to work out more. You spend too much time on the couch watching TV and not enough time outside walking around, et cetera, et cetera. The problem then is dealing with the physical strain and the emotional hardships of not doing as well as you thought you were going to. Hail to Christian Delorme. What's up, buddy? He says, bonjour, everyone. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Landrigan says, I quit nicotine a few months ago. Still crave it every day, but I know I'm better without it. And that's the thing. Okay, right here. Still crave it. Okay. You're more than likely going to continue to crave nicotine for another 6 to 7 months regularly. And then once you get over that, you'll have the occasional craving that kicks in during specific time frames, like things that you didn't really account for, going out to parties or whatever. Now, of course, when you're dealing with an addictive substance such as nicotine, we all know how addictive it is. It really helps to be able to have the support structure I was mentioning earlier in simple reinforcement reinforcement. Okay. And by that, I mean, you don't need a cheerleader, but you do need someone, even if it's just yourself, reminding you that you're actually doing a good job. And by the way, Sean Landrigan, you're doing a fantastic job. If it's been months and you haven't touched it since, you're doing a great job. Okay, trust me, I know. I'm addicted to a USB port. All right, nicotine is a pain in my ass, but I don't have the willpower to stop it. And that's another thing. You have to be able to recognize when you have enough willpower on your own and when you need external exertion of will. Okay. In AA, oftentimes people are all like, make a god out of something and then just focus on it, give it the power. Now, of course, as a Christian, that just bothers the fuck out of me. But as a psychologist, I understand the need for something higher. Now, when you're dealing with nicotine and stuff like that, rage happens. Right. Sometimes you're just like, I'm going to fucking punch somebody. And that's why I haven't quit nicotine, because I'm already kind of a rage monster and I don't really need everyone in my life hating me. You know what I mean? And which actually brings me to a wonderful point: justifications. We often justify our behavior and breaking resolutions and goals with petty things. For instance, it takes too long to get into shape. It takes too long and it's too hard to quit drinking. I have really bad news for anyone who's justifying in that manner. That time is going to pass anyway, so you might as well dedicate it to something worthwhile. Improving yourself is worthwhile. Every time that you get better and you like yourself more, that's a bonus. That's a good thing. That's a great thing. Why wouldn't it be? But when you're justifying behavior, this is another thing that you see in addiction a lot, is justification of behavior, either through external enabling from friends or internal enabling, stating that like something along the lines of, well, it's not hurting anybody but me, which is one of the biggest lies in addiction. But we'll talk about that some other time. I love the addiction conversation, but the justifications we use are often irrational, I should say. Irrational is the best word to use there. And the reason that they're irrational is because they're not backed by any type of actual facts. Okay. It is not hurting anyone other than me, for instance, is a very popular addiction excuse. All right. And the reality is it hurts anyone who's involved in your life, period. Regardless of how temporary, how minimal it is, it hurts them. And so you're not the only one being affected, whether it be your job or et cetera, et cetera. Another justification that people like to use is it's hard. I got news for you. Life is hard. Life is hard. Everything in life is hard. And there's no easy way to go about it. As my favorite military people like to say, the only easy day was yesterday because it's over. Minus that last bit. The only easy day was yesterday. But anyway. everything in your life is hard. So if everything in your life is hard, then it's not an excuse to not do something. Plain and simple. And this brings us back to the exercise thing. It's hard. It is. But I got news for you. As you do it, as you progress, as you spend the time and the effort, it gets easier. Holy shit. Things get easier with practice. And that's really what you're doing when you're trying to achieve a goal, is you're practicing achieving said goal until you're actually achieving said goal. The reason resolutions don't make it is because they are in no way, shape, or form measurable. They're not time-based, not realistic, and they're more than likely attainable, but you're often not specific enough to set goals properly with a resolution. You say one big umbrella thing, I'm going to do X and achieve Y. That's your whole resolution, your whole goal. And that's flawed in every way that you could possibly imagine. Now, one of the things that I hear the most during this time is new year, new me. And I got news for you. Yep. They're the same picture. And I'm not trying to be disheartening by saying that, but you cannot change every aspect of yourself to make a new you in the span of a day. You can't do it in the span of a month. You can't do it in the span of 3 months, not even a year. In order to fully remake yourself in a new you fashion, you have to systematically evaluate every aspect of your person. And this is something most people hate doing: internal analysis. All right. You have to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and go, this is the truth. For me, getting involved in exercise and stuff like that. So what was that, like 6 months ago? I would look at myself in the mirror, not necessarily like my physique or whatever, but I had to look at myself in the mirror and ask myself, do I want to live my life through laziness, or do I want to live my life in a way that's compatible with proper and extended living? Because laziness is one of the biggest problems in today's world. I don't know why I'm wearing those. There's no sounds coming through. But laziness is a huge problem. And the reason laziness is a huge problem is because 99% of the time, laziness is automatic. Therefore, any effort is forced. And if you have to force an effort, you're automatically going to dislike what you're doing. But that's another thing you have to deal with, is the negative emotions associated with disliking your new choices. You have to ask yourself, which ones do you hate more? Which ones do you dislike more? Do you dislike who you used to be more than what you're trying to do? Or do you dislike what you're trying to do more so than who you are? Christian Delorme says, I love hearing your podcasts. It gives me tools to battle my severe addiction to cigarettes. Well, I wish you the best of luck with that. I absolutely admire your battle against nicotine, and as well as Sean Landrigan. I admire you for being able to put your foot forward for doing that. With cigarettes, the important thing to remember there is when you get a craving, you have to stop it from becoming an urge. And I know we're getting into the addiction side of things, but this is actually some helpful advice. So you have several stages of desire, let's say, for your addictions: nicotine, alcohol, whatever. It often starts out as a simple half a second thought. Boop. You don't even realize it's there. Then you have a craving, which is often the internal physical tension that you feel regarding what you're craving, what you're desiring. You're like, I want it. And then, but when it hits a craving level, because you can't do anything about the thought, it's going to show up. You have no control over that. The craving only lasts about 7 minutes. So if you can distract yourself for 7 minutes from the craving, you'll oftentimes eliminate it before it becomes an urge. Urges are psychologically driven to suppress or fix the anxiety and physical tensions that you feel regarding the substance. So when you feel the craving, you kick in to distract your brain for 7 minutes. It will go away. But the moment you put focus on the craving, it becomes an urge, and then it becomes 10 times harder to deal with. The urge is often what makes people chew on cigarette or chew on toothpicks or snap a band on their wrist. Thought stopping is really helpful with crushing urges and cravings. Now, most people won't go through the process of researching what they need to do to fulfill their goals. For instance, let's say you make a New Year's resolution to learn how to play the piano. Okay. It's a daunting task in and of itself. However, there's a lot of small things that go into learning to play the piano. For instance, some people play by ear, which is totally fine. But one of the major portions of becoming a professional musician in any way is being able to read music. And if you haven't taught yourself the basic scales of the instrument that you're wishing to play, then the chances are you're not going to be, say, doing any Rachmaninoff or pumping out any Beethoven anytime soon. Okay. You have to be able to take the small steps in order to achieve larger successes. One of the things that's involved in taking the small steps is mitigating your downtime so that you're not allowing excess thoughts to leak into your brain and either demotivate or change the motivation that you're using. Sorry. Now, another big New Year's resolution that people seem to be making is relationships. And, gaining relationships, breaking relationships, something like that. Like maybe your resolution is to get out of an abusive relationship. The problem from something like that comes from external dependencies. And an external dependency within an abusive relationship is often formed through a sense of inferiority from the individual experiencing the abuse. And the only real way to break that cycle is to have that person remove themselves from the situation altogether and seek therapy. Okay. And I don't mean therapy as in like you're crazy, you're broken, you're just worthless, stuff like that. I'm talking therapy to help them identify the small portions of themselves that they need to strengthen so that they don't feel the need for another person. Because you shouldn't need other people. You should want them in your life, but you shouldn't need them to survive. And now, of course, if you have a medical condition or something along those lines, that doesn't apply because if you need the support, you need the support. But you shouldn't need someone else in order to feel whole. So if your resolutions or goals are based on someone else's views or someone else's influence, then you have to take extra steps in order to ensure that your goals are being fulfilled for yourself. Okay? Now, if you're externally motivating yourself to quit a substance, you have to have a permanent external motivator. You can't have something that's going to go away. So if you're in a 3-month relationship and you're like, I'm going to quit drinking for this person, you should probably amend that to say you're going to quit drinking for yourself. Because oftentimes when change is elicited, the other people in your life will react in ways that you didn't account for. Okay, so maybe you quit drinking and you undergo a minor or even a major personality change one way or the other. Chances are you're going to lose people in your life that you thought were your friends or even your family, especially if they're enablers for your addiction and you do some cross-enabling for each other. Addicts hate when addicts quit because it invalidates their life experiences. But the same thing goes for relationships. Relationships are a two-way street, but we oftentimes put too much emphasis on the other person. If you want to establish a good relationship with someone, it has to be a give and take situation, not just a give, 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 or a take, take, take. When you're looking at a healthy relationship, it doesn't start immediately. Healthy relationships and good relationships are things that you build. And oftentimes, the mortar used to build these relationships is hardship and strife. Because if you can learn how to deal with the hardship and strife in a relationship, then you can learn how to keep that relationship healthy and keep people in your life. If you're an individual who is self-centered, or you don't think you have to change in any way, shape, or form to accommodate other people in your lives, then you're going to hinder yourself in being able to make progress. And of course, this comes from communication skills more than anything else. Of course, there's basic personality traits where, like, narcissism's not a good relationship. Histrionics don't make good relationship. Borderlines don't make good relationships. But, outside of the extenuating circumstances, a normal relationship is often formed through dialogue. That's crazy. Not physical contact or anything like that, but actual dialogue. Now, if your goal or your resolution is to improve an existing relationship, then you have to be able to do internal and external analysis on what exactly causes conflict and what is the best way to resolve said conflict. One of the reasons resolutions regarding relationships often fail is because the individual doesn't know themselves as well as they need to. You have to be aware of your pet peeves. You have to be aware of your shortcomings, your strengths. You have to be aware of what parts of yourself don't accommodate another individual. Like, for instance, if you're a loner, you're probably not very good at making relationships, so you spend a lot of time focusing on yourself. If you have this wild hair up your ass to decide to go and actually form a relationship with someone, it comes with a lot of anxiety. And that's because oftentimes people who are loners and introverts and stuff like that don't necessarily doubt the motivations of the other person or the connection they have with the other person, but they doubt themselves in their presence in the relationship and whether or not their emotional fortitude is going to carry over into something meaningful. And this comes from the introspection that people need in order to understand change and effect change and be ready therefore. Now, if you're not ready to change, then you won't. But readiness for change comes in scales most of the time. The lowest on it, of course, being oblivious. You're completely oblivious to any changes that need to be made. And this is another reason resolutions fail quite often, is because you don't take into account the pieces and parts. Once again, sorry. Brain broke. Hail to Nate D. Every time this chat moves, my brain's just like, we're not talking about that no more. It's good times. Excuse me, I have to feed my addiction. Now, if your resolutions and goals are based off of effecting a major change, like getting a new job, you have to be comfortable with the idea that your plans will not match reality, because plans, as every adult knows, never go the way they're supposed to, ever. This is why you have to have a measurable idea of success. I won't touch on addictions with this one because oftentimes you just need to eliminate the behavior. But with small changes like exercise, sleep habits, things like that, the success of the goal is often incremental in ways that you won't even notice, really, especially with things like exercise. You'll notice if your sleep habits improve. With exercise, especially if you're doing one that's not like hyper intense, like shoot yourself up with steroids and then bench press 700 pounds. the change over time is small enough and incremental enough that you won't often think that you're actually making a change. So you need something to help you measure the success of the changes that you're making. For some people, this can be charting your food intake to lose weight. For other people, it's taking progress pictures of your body and stuff for your workout so you can actually see the differences between day one picture and day 730. You know what I mean? You have to be able to accept the slow pace that change happens at. And in a world of instant gratification, that is often made almost impossible, especially when we have the comparison principle to fall back on and tell us that we're not doing a very good job. Now, of course, the comparison principle is often used in marketing research, but it applies to almost every type of situation that you can find yourself in. That being said, if you're comparing your physical abilities in the gym to someone else's who's been doing it for a long time, you're always going to feel like you're failing. So the only person you should measure your success for in a situation like that is yourself. That's the only person that can hold you accountable. That's the only person that can actually notice the change. And it's the only person who the change matters to is you. No one else, not to black pill anything, but no one else really cares. These are things that you yourself want to change. So you yourself are the only person that is going to care about it 100%. This again, once again, does not apply to addictions because there's going to be plenty of people who hope that you make it through. Jason Fox says, I never make New Year's resolutions. If there's something I want, it does not matter what year it is or stuff like that. I'm just going to do my best and do it. Take it one day at a time, day by day. That's right. And that's the thing. Okay. Saying doesn't equal doing. You have to do in order to achieve. The problem most people have is they build up this huge idea of the goals that they're going to achieve and their ability to achieve them without considering the actual amount of effort that goes into it. We'll take YouTube, for instance. Okay. YouTube is a fickle bitch. And the reality of YouTube is it's hit and miss. You might be able to hit 1,000 subscribers in 3 days of making your channel. It's been done before without buying subs. You might hit 4 subscribers in a year and a half. That's just how it works. The difference in success for something like YouTube is dedication and consistency. Okay. I am dedicated to bringing you a wonderful show whenever I can, but the consistency problem for me is really what hurts my channel. So my goal is to be consistent with the schedule that I set last year and actually fulfill it. That's my goal. Okay. Today is day 1 of that. Welcome to Cory's Corner. But life gets in the way, especially when you're a part-timer like me, whose focus is 98% on real world stuff and not the internet. And that's nothing against anyone who has more time to dedicate to the internet and more time to dedicate to YouTube and becoming amazing content creators. But the reality of it is if you're a normal guy who wants to come out and be an entertainer or be a YouTuber, infotainment, however you want to put it, then you have to realize that success is outside of your personal control to a large degree. Because we're swimming in a sea of YouTube channels. So how are you going to, out of the 50 million plus YouTube channels that exist, how are you going to make yours the one that stands out? Now, there's a lot of content discussion that could go into that. Not going to touch on that. What we're going to talk about is consistency. It's the one thing that I lack because my life keeps getting in the way, and that's why I'm a part-time YouTuber, because life happens. But you have to consistently, not only consistently deliver on a time frame, but you have to be able to consistently deliver the quality that people expect from you. Look at Drunk 3PO or the Geeks and Gamers crew in general, Nerdrotic, Comics Division. All of these people consistently deliver higher quality content for people to enjoy, and they do. And it's because they've also taken the time to master their craft, iron out all the little details that people often struggle with. They don't sit with a blank green screen behind them. They make it visually and overall engaging. Now, the consistency issue arises oftentimes because we'll see, this happened to me in the early years. This is like my 4th year on YouTube. Wow. But anyway, the consistency issue for someone like me in the beginning would happen when you wouldn't experience the success you were hoping for, and you feel like what you're doing isn't really good enough and isn't really something that people are going to connect with or feel good on. And that happens. Now, the big thing there is you go, people aren't really liking what I'm doing, so I'm just going to stop. Instead of going, well, people don't like what I'm doing, so I'm going to improve it. Now, if you're a streamer and your resolution is to gain 100 subs, then you're going to you need to take the necessary steps to make sure that happens. Learn all of the little things about YouTube to that boost general exposure, if you will. A lot of those little things are things that, unless you're spending a lot of time in the YouTube creator tutorial things, which isn't a bad idea, you're not going to be made aware of until another streamer or another content creator tells you about it. This happened with Drunk 3PO. When I had him on the first time, he was like, you have to be able to treat it like a television program and have regular programming that's consistent in quality, and you have to be able to actually commit to what you're doing. And that, of course, is one of my shortcomings, is consistency. My roommate loves to throw that in my face, that I'm inconsistent. And I'm inconsistent because I don't manage all of my stress correctly. Okay. When I'm in a depressive episode, that dominates everything. And I don't really want to stream. You know what I mean? Even though I know for a fact that it will help me feel better. Streaming and the catharsis I get from it are beneficial to me. But sometimes I'm like, no, I don't want to do it. And that's something that happens with every goal, every resolution, everything that you want to achieve in your life, is you eventually do become disheartened to some degree. The key to overcoming those situations is realizing that a single moment does not dictate your entire life. A single failure does not make you a failure. And in my opinion, you never really fail until you stop trying. But that's a different discussion. People stop trying way too easily because they don't have the means. They weren't instilled with the ability to self-comfort. I know that's a weird thing to say. That's something we learn as infants, is self-comforting. But a lot of people these days struggle with self-comfort because they feel like they need external validation. External validation is only as good as your next bump of Coke. You're always going to need more. You're always going to be desiring it. And oh my gosh, you have to be able to look at yourself and saying that I am doing good. Not good enough. Good. Okay, the enough thing, shove that out of your mind. Because it's never enough, but you can do good. And the reason I say it's never enough is because we as human beings are programmed to want. more and 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 more. So as soon as we get a taste of success, we just start craving it and we start chasing it. And we oftentimes lose sight of the process. We often lose sight of the end game, things like that. You just come wrapped up in the exact moment that you're living in, and it just totally screws you over. And you can't allow that to happen. You have to be able to self-comfort and self-reinforce towards your behaviors. If this wasn't a thing, then I would have stopped singing a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, whenever shortly after starting, because I wasn't very good at it when I started. Chances are, if you're starting something new, you're going to suck at it. If you're instantly great at something, you struggle to challenge yourself, and challenge is necessary for growth, period. Without challenge, you don't grow. That's just plain and simple. Yeah. But, so listen, if you made a resolution, my advice is to break the resolution down into goals. Okay? You want to gain 15 pounds? Set a workout regimen. That's goal. That's time-oriented, specific. And you have to be able to take the steps: eating correctly, sleeping correctly, working out consistently, stuff like that. If you want to quit a substance, you have to be able to dedicate yourself to avoiding situations that will put you in an urge state. You have to be able to avoid people and places that generate the desire. But overall, you need to take what you think your grandiose idea of this year is going to be, and you need to squish it down, and you need to break it apart into small, manageable pieces that you can actually measure your success through. That being said, I do hope that you all have a wonderful new year. I know we're a little early right now, but I'm going to get bouncing. I've got some other things I've got to take care of today, family-related stuff, but I'm going to get rolling. So, just take it one day at a time, as Alcoholic Anonymous likes to say, one day at a time. Make sure that your goals are actually specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-based. You need to be able to make sure that you're achieving small successes in order to gain the larger success of change. But that being said, I hope you all have a great day. John Edgar says, have a good day, Cory. Thanks for the stream. Happy New Year, chat. Christian says, thanks for the stream. Well, thank you, guys. I am very happy to be here. Tonight is up in the air. It might just wind up being another Cory's Corner. Not specifically a Dick's News or anything. We'll see how it all goes with my meanderings today. But that being said, stay sexy. Don't get murdered. And as always, have a wonderful time.